I really don't feel like filming today, but it's probably for the best. And one of you guys said that you'd like to see another cleaning video, and well, I will. You may recall that I had a bit of a crazy period where I threw a bunch of things away. Well, that's not quite finished. I still feel like throwing away a bunch of things. Just now it's not absolutely freezing out here, and so I can do the outside. But I filled up 1.5 trash cans of stuff from the house, and I've been able to slowly go through things, and well, especially I've had new resources open up to me. For instance, the scrapyard. Now that I feel safe that I have that scrapyard to buy things, I don't need to collect stuff as much. That I don't have to have my own little scrapyard of stuff as much. What I think I'll do is, at least in this case, I'll keep this because I have a place for it, and because it could be a nice structural pipe. Now this stuff is easy. This is stuff that I took out of the well when I was cleaning that out, so I can fill it in properly. And I just never put it into the trash yet, so that can go in the trash. You guys know how I've been scrimping and saving old nails for an art project I've been working on? Well, I'm a changed Renoa. You know, speaking of that, I know I'm going insane. These are all burnt. I don't even know how I got them. I'll keep the hinges just because those are useful. That's it. This is what's left over from that one video where I made a bunch of acetone slime. But I'll never finish that video, so no sense in keeping it. This is what styrofoam melted down looks like if left to sit for about 2 years to dry. However, this is a bucket I found. It used to hold a flammable rope, pretty much, a rail snake that you put next to the train rail to heat it up. And that can be a cool trash can, I think. I'll just fix the bottom. Now that I have that bucket open with it not having screws in it, I can go through this box of stuff that I found I never really went through. Badge meter, Readomatic. Gallons. So I think that's probably a water flow meter. I'm keeping these nails because they're actually still good. They're not tempered. I'm going to the electronics box. These. I found uses for these. I used them for a door. Now these pieces might not be so useful. So maybe at the end of the year when I go back through this stuff, I'll throw these away because they're not hinges. Oh, that's cool. That's a lot older. That's like handmade. This hook. Well, I'm glad I got that box then, because that's even worth that makes it worth it. You know what? That'll hang up. I can actually use that. $19.98. £45. Sears Roebuck & Co., Springfield, Illinois. April 21st, 1998. That's funny. Start a fire. I was planning to heat the workshop with all this wood, but I just never really end up using it. So we can burn a lot of it. I mean, most of this stuff is still good, the big stuff, because I intend to use it for making like tool handles, but the other stuff, I can go. Especially this stuff. It was, I thought it was cottonwood, but it's too weak. So I started cutting it up and I was drying it, and it's not very good wood. Meanwhile, this stuff is some good wood. However, has a lot of rot, so I'll just burn it just to get rid of it. I'm not that concerned about that little bit of good wood. Oh, what's up with this? I need to finally get rid of that thing that just stops me from throwing away steel. Because, you know, I have a scrapyard now. I don't need to have this stuff socked up, even if it's spring steel. Maybe it was a bit too much. That oak burns quite well. I've kept this brush for like 2 years now, and I keep throwing it in the trash, then I take it back out and I clean it, and then I decide to throw it away. But it never really comes quite clean because I never did a quite good job with it. Now I have some better brushes, so I don't need this one. I can finally pitch it. All right. I have those logs I can burn too. I got them to experiment with making charcoal with, but I don't need them, so I can just pitch them. Finally got all that wood cleaned up, and you know, I'm really happy that I got all this wood and had these shenanigans, even if I probably should have cleaned it up earlier. But I have a lot of nice oak drying in the woodshed, and this is just all the off cuttings and such. But now I can finally take this through here. Oh, this is getting heavy. I gotten these clay pigeons for free, and you know what, they actually work quite well as little bowls for paint. But I don't need that many. I mean, wouldn't you think this many, like an entire pallet or an entire pack of these would be expensive? Like, why are they thrown away? Who knows? You ready for the big one? This seems like about as many as I could feasibly use in, like, I don't know, 6 years. Because I don't paint all that much. But it is nice to have a little disposable thing to paint with. I'm just trying to find a use for these because I feel bad for them being in the trash. But half of them are ending up in the trash anyway. But at least they're finding some use. They have been useful. Actually quite useful. Actually, that cardboard can be burned. Oh, that can be burned. I'm trying to think if I should even bother keeping all these register vents or whatever they're called. Like, are they really worth anything? I don't mean money, I mean, could I even barely give them away? I don't think so, because none of them are really fascinating to me. I want to burn that, but it's actually a useful block of wood for hammering and such, so gotta go in that section. I've been cleaning up underneath my workbench, and this will definitely be something that I'll work on this year, is getting this half of the building cleaned up underneath here. Maybe I'll try to level the floors a little bit more and have more cabinetry or shelving down here and better organized. Now you can definitely call me a hoarder in this case, because this is the remnants of the oldest TV that I ever found. Sadly, it really has fallen apart. But I remember whenever I was a little kid, I dug this up in the creek. It's so rusted, in fact, that the flyback transformer is rusted in half. But I dated this to about the 1940s or so. And look at that. Because of the indentation, you can tell the layout, and you can tell the size of the screen. It was a round screen, the only round screen I've ever come in contact with. And I imagine it's probably about that big. And the box is about that big. I found this in the creek. I remember, I was 12, 13, something like that, and I dug it out. And it was so cool. And I got tons of other things because back here were more boards that were elevated on ceramic standoffs. And those actually held up pretty well, and I saved those. But I kept this since I was a little kid. It was like one of my neat little finds, but I can pitch it. Especially now that I have so much of this old stuff. I mean, I don't have a television quite this old, but I do have a lot of stuff similar to this, and getting close to that at least. Now, normally it's quite difficult for me to get rid of things, so I usually get rid of a bucket a week. And like for instance, this bin was like 6 big bins that I slowly took away from and condensed down to this, and now I finally threw it away, and I just have a handful of useful things like little clamps and stuff that I go into the workshop. And so that's just always been my method for getting rid of, actually I'm not going to be throwing that away. It's been my method for getting rid of things, and it's just that this cleaning season happens to be an extraordinary one because I happen to be really highly motivated, and I've been throwing away trash cans a week, which, well, I got the house really, really clean and moved some stuff to the workshop, and now I'm going to be getting the workshop really, really clean, and so things are looking up. Did you know that a microwave oven, if you don't have anything in it, it'll microwave itself and burn up? But they make these out of a special type of glass that absorbs microwaves, and so it heats up if nothing else is in there. So if you accidentally turn on your microwave and this is in there, it'll heat this up. It won't kill your magnetron and won't catch your microwave on fire. I think that's some pretty good engineering. That is some tough glass. So I've had these for, year and a half, and I haven't found a use for them. These are like from the 90s, so not worth keeping. I'll pitch those. But when I got them, I also got these super heavy duty grates from like the 60s. And these are the kind you can walk on, and that's pretty cool. They're really heavy duty. So I definitely keep those. This is a can from the roof sealant I used. I'll find a use for that, and if not, I'll pitch it. Now the rest of the stuff, these window weight pulleys, I'll definitely keep that. And large valves. But these, I really just don't need them. Because they're just garbage. You can probably still buy these, because after around 1995 or so, most of the stuff just stagnated and then they kept making it. This is what I think. Now this. I can't help but feel there is some value in this. Placing these pieces. I could just order those if I need them. But this stuff is nice because I kept it for a year or two just to see if I would have a use for it, and I didn't, so now I can pitch it. I really need to fix these up someday. 1962. These are such nice little crates. I love them. Hey, speaking of that, I wonder what happens if I burn one of these. Oh! What? Those are made of clay. That is not clay. I have no idea what that is. Maybe it is like a plastic of some sort. Okay, so I'm going to start putting electrical boxes in there because that makes sense. Now what we have here is some 1920s cedar shakes that I thought were interesting. Also I thought they might be interesting to burn, but I'll keep those for a little bit. These blocks that I originally cut and dried for mallets, well, they crack that way and then they crack that way. This is obviously not cottonwood. It's something else. Something that's actually quite fragile. Tell you what, I'll burn all the ones that have cracks in them. Okay, we'll burn these 4. Forgot that was a trash can of stuff that I meant to throw away earlier last year, but then the trash can filled up. Cleaning out that well, that's such a mess. Huh. Found these little squish balls. I guess they blew into my yard or something. That is weird. So I need to stop there because, well, I'm kind of running out of power for the day. But also I need to leave this room for our house trash or whatever my mother wants to throw in there or whatever. And, you know, since this is about 2/3 full, I burned a bunch of wood. The wood that I burned was about making it up to about a trash can's worth, so I'd consider that a trash can's worth of shit thrown away. And there's plenty of other things that we'll be able to do. For instance, we'll be getting rid of this, but I still want to just kind of tear it apart and do a little video on it because I think it's worthwhile to do. And you know what? This drum might actually be useful. I don't know. So that wood that I thought was like imposter cottonwood, I thought I'd be able to burn it in my wood stove, but it just doesn't burn. And it's not wet anymore, it's quite low, it's just not very good wood. It's weak, it's low energy content. Probably best just to go ahead and get rid of it. In the previous video I tried to light off this firework, but it was a dud, so let's make sure it lights. Oh, come on. That was a real dud. Oh well.